the DigiPodcast, digital trends in supply chain management.
Hello and welcome to our DigiPodcast. I'm Thomas Holzner from Siemens Digi Network with the DigiPodcast, a podcast on digital innovative topics for procuring the future. Today we add to our podcast series about the Global Development Program, GDP. It's for talents at SCM, another episode. And today we have a very interesting international global citizen as a guest, Cyrus Irani, at the moment Head of Enterprise Services Finance for Siemens Healthineers in Tokyo. He will share some insights how a program like this worked for him. Hello Cyrus, nice to have you here with us.
Hey Thomas, thanks for having me. Really excited to record today's podcast with a real podcast veteran such as you, so I appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks Cyrus that you agreed to produce a podcast with us, because I know Cyrus I think since 2016, because at that time I was the coach for the GDP and Cyrus was one of the front runners of the GDP, and I always enjoyed working together with him because he's really global. I think he has a kind of background from Persia, from India, from Bavaria, living in Japan, married with a Japanese wife. I think he has kids and he is traveling back and forth, up and down, all across Asia. And what's amazing, he has always a very nice, dry sense of humor. So, Cyrus, I hope this was not too detailed about you, because we would like to know from you now a quick overview. What is the GDP for the new listeners and which kind of benefits you took away?
Very flattering introduction. Thank you for that. I need to admit though, with two small kids, traveling has been now refocused more around Japan than Asia lately. Well, okay, let me try to summarize the GDP question. The GDP at SCM is part of the Siemens AG Potential Development Program, PDP, is a 2-year program or membership for procurement professionals and talents that want to contribute to the procurement network beyond what they do today. And of course, who are in return looking for a network that provides visibility in a certain development potential. Moreover, and this is very interesting, the program runs autonomously, meaning membership runs via self-nomination, and the members of this program are responsible for driving and evolving it. HR and a program coach such as you have been in the past merely support when needed. And there is one thing I can never stress too often. It's that terminologies such as diversity or global international environment actually come to life in this program. And this is something I personally was very impressed with. Now, I think you also asked about the benefits that I have gained from this program. This is maybe a little harder to summarize. First of all, and this is maybe the easiest answer, I was offered a new job during my membership and moved from Siemens AG to Healthineers procurement. That job has actually helped me develop from procurement into risk management to finance, where I am today. Hence, I really have a great appreciation among others towards this program, as it really helped me develop and evolve during and beyond the program. Secondly, along with an unbelievably valuable network across all different areas of procurement, I have also gained incredible personal relationships and friendships. Sometimes when focusing purely on business, this aspect is often neglected, but I think this is very important. Thirdly, I have learned about the benefits diversity and inclusion can bring to a group, which is helping me today in my role as a DE&I ambassador. The GDP literally embodies D&I, and I believe that is the reason the program has steadily evolved over the last years and is now a recognized foundation of the SCM community. Last but not least, I had the pleasure to have Jens Eckert as my mentor for the 2 years and even beyond. And I think my regular mentor-mentee exchanges have helped me gain important new perspective and insights of someone who has not spent his whole career in procurement, but started his career in finance. So I actually believe that this is also one of the reasons I thought to myself, why not do the other way around and move from procurement to finance in the near future? In case Jens is listening to this podcast, thanks again, Jens. You see, our talks have not come to nothing, and please continue being a mentor and inspire others as well. This has been a great experience for me.
I think that's a very comprehensive summary, from mentorship to international experience to a global network. And I noticed this when I talk with also former and actual GDP members. One lady from Siemens Healthineers got appointed, I think, last week, and she was happy and proud like her. Now we know why. So, from your point of view, is it now a stepping stone for more or less young SCM talents?
Well, first of all, we remind all GDP members that this should be a two-way street, right? As a member, your motivation should be to contribute to the program and safeguard its existence. In return, the GDP can and will provide certain means, such as mentoring, as I mentioned before, visibility to the organization, for example, by working on real-life projects coming from the organization or countries, by being part of the World Conference. And the program will provide you opportunity for learning and networking, let it be within the GDP group itself or with colleagues from the SCM community. Nonetheless, there is one thing the GDP can do. It can develop its members. Each member has to proactively get involved in order to make use of what the GDP has to offer. He or she needs to set their own direction for development or for whatever other reason they may have joined this program. I strongly believe that members who have been utilizing the means smartly have actually achieved the next step they were looking and hoping for. So yes, it can help boost your career and personal development, but it does require own additional effort.
Thanks. So we are back to the ownership of yourself. It's a support, but you have to do something. And you did a lot because you are not with SCM anymore, but with Siemens Healthineers in Japan. Can you give us some insights on how your daily business looks like, work-wise and Japan, cultural-wise?
When I moved back to Japan 6 years ago, I started off in a procurement role, but as mentioned before, eventually I wanted to move into finance. Hence, I took a sidestep into risk and internal control, and 1.5 years ago, I then moved into my current role as the finance head of our enterprise service division. Well, now I'm sure you're interested in what enterprise service does, right?
Yes.
Well, even if not, I'm still going to tell you.
Thanks.
Just in a nutshell, we from Enterprise Services, we deliver system-wide solutions to healthcare providers to increase value in their organizations by improving outcome and reducing costs. We basically offer providers a comprehensive portfolio of products and value-added services, including digitally enabled services or consulting services. But yeah, sorry, let's get back to your question. As much as I enjoyed the procurement community and all the different jobs I have performed over the years, I need to admit that I'm currently also very happy in my new position. So if you ask me about my day-to-day business, I feel that the dynamic is different than in my former jobs. In my current role, I need to communicate with frontline, with sales, bid managers, with banks on financing schemes, and with back-end departments on contractual topics, accounting or else. So as much as it has been always very satisfying and rewarding to generate savings, or as we like to say, C&I, booking an order, generating revenue just feels like a different sort of thrill for me right now.
Yeah, I'm totally convinced that you are able and willing to adapt, because when we had the projects at the GDP, you were always quite flexible, but I think what I really admired, always straight ahead. And that's interesting in Japanese culture.
I mean, culture is always a very sensitive topic that requires open-mindedness and the willing to accept differences. Same applies obviously to Japan. In standard case, Western interpretation of Japanese gestures and mimic is not necessarily in line with the message that Japanese wants to convey. So I feel that especially in interpersonal relationships, intercultural sensitivity is of high importance, and often I need to remind myself also not to be too clumsy at times. As one of very few foreigners in my company, I think I have a certain level of freedom to continue valuing what is important to me. But on the other hand, I don't want to be seen as the foreigner who doesn't adapt. So it's a little bit of a balancing act. Over the last years, though, our company is steadily evolving, meaning we are promoting DE&I, trying to improve work-life balance. And these are the topics where I can proactively support and promote a different mindset and also try to lead by example.
Regarding culture, I think you have one big advantage. You have a strong mentor at home. I don't know how much it helped, but what I learned so far from you, you never needed help because you're quite straight, quite smart, quite clever. And I don't feel it's bad that you moved to finance, because now we have an ambassador who understands procurement in the area that we need, because without sales, no procurement.
I'm glad you see it the same way, Thomas. I think it is very important that we from procurement diversify and spread our knowledge and especially spread the importance of procurement within our company.
Cyrus, thanks a lot for this insights regarding business and GDP. Now we're coming to my last but not least and most favorite question. Who is Cyrus Irani?
Thanks, Thomas. Save the most difficult for last, right? I am a husband. I am a father of 2 wonderful small boys. I am a foodie. I am a supporter of the soccer club Werder Bremen. I love to work, but I also value my private life and ensure I have enough family time. I used to be a nomad, moving locations frequently, but now 6 years in Japan is by far the longest I've lived anywhere after high school. And I'm someone who continuously seeks and longs for new experiences. And as of today, I have concluded my very first podcast attendance. So thank you very much for that.
Cyrus, it is a pleasure. I'm totally convinced that this is not your last step in your career, where I'm quite curious and I will watch which places in the world you will discover. I'm totally convinced it won't be the Oberpfalz, because that's the recording place we have today. So we have Munich, the Oberpfalz, and Tokyo. Siemens again, totally global, with great people. Thanks to Cyrus for sharing, and thanks to our listeners. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the DigiPodcast. If you have questions or if you want to find out more information about the Digi Network, reach out to our internet page, siemens.com/DigiNetwork, or search at LinkedIn for the blog Digi Network. I'm looking forward to having you as a listener at our next episode. Yours, Thomas, from the Digi Network. Goodbye.
The DigiPodcast, Digital Trends in Supply Chain Management.